Follow Paddy Power on Snapchat. The username is ThePaddyPower, and we promise there won't be any boring snaps about gigs, the weather or the gym.
Good afternoon and welcome to this Racing Post Postcast. Sorry if you're expecting Maddie Plale, you've got me, Nick Watts, in the chair today instead. And joining me on the sofa I've got James Hill. And on Skype we have Tom Nugent from our sponsors Paddy Power and Tom Seagull from Pricewise. We'll be looking back on a fascinating weekend and we'll be looking ahead also to an equally fascinating one next weekend. But firstly, there was a big surprise on the front page of the Racing Post today to say that racing might be combining in some sense with Formula One in a kind of novel concept to attract maybe a wider audience and do something different. James, is it a good idea? What do you think?
I think it's probably a necessary thing to look at, I think racing needs to look at how it's going to get sponsorship in the future and stuff, and how it's going to make sponsorship competitive. So this is an idea that could work. So financially for the sport, it could be good news. Just as a purist, I mean, I'm not sure about these team events. I mean, I think the sport's about the horse. I mean, it's about the people as well, but I think first and foremost it's about the horse, and I wouldn't want the sport to move away from that fact.
And Tom, Pricewise, I don't imagine you're a petrol head or any fan of Formula One. What do you think of the idea of combining racing with F1?
Well, you got me right there straight away. I cannot stand F1. I can't think of the last time I watched a Formula One race, to be honest. Probably 25 years ago. Jacques Lafitte was still driving in those days. Shows how old I am. What do I think about it? Well, I've got two ways of thinking about it. One is that I don't mind any new innovation. I'm a big fan of the Shergar Cup, always have been. I love it. I think it's a great family event. I've been many times with my family and think it's a really good idea. The thing I have that slightly concerns me is that I find it really disconcerting when people are always saying racing needs help. You know, racing has been around for 200 years. We've got a tremendous sport. And if people aren't attracted to it already, having Team Sky or Team Racing Post or Team Kipco or whatever is not going to get anyone along to watch it, I don't think. But I don't think we should dismiss it out of hand, because I think everything that's a potential new innovator can provide more funds to the sport is obviously worth considering. I personally think it's got a cat and hell's chance of working, but I think we've got to give it a shot, see what happens, see where it goes, and take it from there. Personally, I like horse racing. I think that's the problem. I think we've got to get more people to like horse racing, not betting, like horse racing. If this does it, then I think it's a great idea. If it doesn't, which I think it probably will struggle to do, then I don't see its point. But, you know, any new idea, anything that can bring more funds in, why not? Let's give it a crack.
And Tom Nugent, when you were eating your cornflakes this morning and reading your Racing Post, did that surprise you, that front page?
Yeah, I nearly choked on them, to be honest. But we actually priced up the likelihood of it happening. So it's 1 to 10 not to go ahead, and 5 to 1 that it does. I suppose I'd be a bit like the lads. I'm a racing fan first and foremost. You have to. There is a merit to innovation in our sport. We need to try and do what we can to stay with the times. But I'm not sure about this now. It'll be interesting to see how the debate unfolds. But I wouldn't be a fan off the bat.
Okay, Tom, we're going to stay with you because we're going to look ahead now to what's coming up this weekend, and the best race, or looks like being the best race on paper, is the Ascot Chase. Are Paddy Power betting on that yet? And if they are, what do you fancy?
Yeah, we are betting indeed. I like Coney Island here. He's the 5 to 2 second favourite at the moment. Top notch, tops the market at 2 to 1. Waiting patiently is 3 to 1, and 7 to 1. Bar Q card is in there at 7 to 1. I really like Coney Island. I think he's going to win this, and I think he's going to go very, very close to winning the Ryanair at the Cheltenham Festival. I think he's looking more and more likely to line up on the Ryanair. I like the horse. Won the Drin Moors and Abbas. Obviously got an injury there last year, but he's a really good chaser, and the Harties are very, very excited about him.
I was going to say, this must be a fairly strong indicator that Eddie Harty's thinking of the Ryanair Chase rather than the Gold Cup at the moment. Would you agree with that?
It seems to be the chatter on Irish racecourses is that's the leaning, but I haven't got any direct confirmation as of yet.
And Tom Seagull, Q Card, you would never have got a price for around 8 to 1 for him for this race a few seasons ago. Has he got one last hurrah in him, or are you looking elsewhere for the potential winner?
I think he's probably got another race in him somewhere along the line. I think this is the best renewal of this race that he'll have ever run in myself. I think Coney Island, Top Notch, Speradek, Waiting Patiently are all and Frodon. Let's not forget Frodon. They're all as good as the horses he would have beaten in the last few years. So I think age 12, he's got his work cut out. I'm slightly different from the other Tom. I think after the Irish Gold Cup the other day, when the JP's horses didn't run so well, bar Edwolf, I'm not sure he'll want to go into the Gold Cup just with Edwolf. So I think if Coney Island was seriously impressive here, he would be tempted to go for the Gold Cup with him. I'm not so keen on him because of his jumping. I didn't think he jumped very well at Ascot the other day. I think he's got to improve in that department. I'm a massive Waiting Patiently fan. I think he's done well, it's cliche, but he's won all his races. He jumps brilliantly. The ground will be perfect for him. I think he's an underrated horse, and Top Notch just gets better and better. I think he's been really impressive last 2 times. Point about Coney Island, he's got Speradek in there, and he will test anyone's jumping because he goes off so fast. So for me, I'd have a watching brief on Coney Island at 5-2 for sure. I'd be more interested in Waiting Patiently.
James, what about you? Last but not least, what's your views on the race?
Well, like Thomas said, I think this could be the best running of the race we've had for quite a few years. Certainly better than last year when Q Card won. I mean, I know he won it by a long way, but it was a poor renewal overall. And I think after his very impressive course and distance win in November, my selection would be Top Notch.
The form of that race worked really well. He beat Double Shuffle and Frodon.
Yeah. He's done very little wrong over fences. I mean, that second to Yorkhill at Cheltenham last season was very good too. I think he's a very good, accurate jumper. And given that he's proven that he likes Ascot so much, I think he's going to be very difficult to beat.
James, sticking with you and going up north to Haydock, we've got the Betfred Grand National trial. Now, the big draw in that, I suppose, is Blackline, second in it last season. Done really, really well so far this season. He hosed up in the Beecher Chase last time out. He's got to give £11 and more to his rivals if he turns up here. Would he be your idea of the winner, or would you be looking for one of the something at a lighter weight?
Not necessarily. He's really impressed me this season, Black Lion. But he's got bigger targets to come, and he's coming back from a break. So I'm not sure he'll absolutely be cherry ripe. He'll certainly be fit enough to win. But giving that weight away, particularly if the ground's very soft, I mean, I think there are others that could be dangerous. Vieux Leon Rouge, I know he's been disappointing this term. But I think if he returns to the sort of form that saw him win this race last season, he's £5 better off with Black Lion. He's got to have a chance. And if he got very, very heavy, a horse like Silsol, who's very well treated on his hurdle form, he could go well too. So no, I don't think it's going to be easy for Black Lion.
Tom Nugent, have we got prices from Paddy Power on this race yet? And which way would you be looking?
Yeah, we do, Nick. Black Lion is the 11-4 favourite now at the moment. The Dutchman is next in at 6-1. 3 Faces West is 13-2. 7-1 Wild West Wind and 8-1 Bar. I haven't had too much of a look at this. The one that just stuck out was 3 Faces West on first look. Obviously, he fell the last day in Haydock. He's back down to 144 now. He won off for 147 there back in December of 2016. Has been quiet since, but yeah, he'd just be one that would catch my eye. I think he'd enjoy the spin up here now, and he's the one I might look at closer to the time. But again, I haven't really had too much time to look at it.
Another Tom, coming to you. I think Connections of Black Lion are missing a trick here, and they should be going for the Gold Cup, because I think in an open year he could run a really big race, but they seem intent on going for this Haydock race followed by the Grand National. Am I mad, or should they be considering the Gold Cup, or are they right to be doing what they're doing?
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I mean, I think he could be placed in a Gold Cup. I don't think he's good enough to win a Gold Cup. Should he be going for it? It's possible. It's definitely possible that, on the entry form he looked better than ever. I think he's got a really tough task on Saturday. I think he's 10 or so pounds higher than he was last year when he got beaten. I think the ground's going to be really heavy. It's going to be a complete slog. I would think that 11-4 or whatever Tom just said there is a really short price for him. There's plenty in there that could take him on. I like 3 Faces West. The thing that still bothers me is the form of the Philip Hobbs yards. I still don't think they're running as well as they can. I still think there's an issue there. Very few winners still. I'm quite interested in Tom George's horse, Wild West Wind. I thought he looked like he was jumping brilliantly, and he looked like a real proper horse in the Welsh National until he inexplicably didn't take off at one of the fences. I think there's plenty more to come from him. You go back through all his form on soft ground. and it's really very good. I mean, he absolutely thrashed Alfie Spinner, who went on to finish second in the Welsh National, and Milan's Bar, who went on to win the race at Warwick afterwards. That form's very strong. I think he's still a good horse going places. I'm quite interested in for the National. I think he's a brilliant jumper despite that inexplicable mistake last time. So he'd be on my list. Noticed, when the prices came out, he was 16-1. Now I see 7-1. So whether he's a great value bet, I'm not sure anymore. But I also like the Dutchman. I thought the Dutchman was really impressive here last time. It came on the back of when Colin Tizard's horses were bang out of form. He was the first horse that sort of showed the Tizards to be back in form. I think that was on heavy ground at Haydock, and it proved that he was a strong stayer. He was going away at the end. I think the extra half mile will really help him. So I don't think it's easy for Black Lion, and I think he's worth taking on Saturday.
Tom, with Black Lion, just having a quick look back to last season's Grand National, do you think he didn't quite see the trip out? Do you think Noel Fahidi went way too soon, or a combination of both, or do you not see a problem with him staying that kind of trip this season?
I think if Noel Feely had his time again, he'd ride a totally different race. Yes, I mean, he reminded me of Hedge Hunter. Do you remember when Hedge Hunter got beaten in that year that Amberley House won, and then went on back to win it the next year? He just did too much too soon. But having said that, he absolutely loves the course, isn't he? I think he's still fourth. He was still only beaten 8 lengths despite last year. I think obviously he's going to have £10 more this year, isn't he? He's going to be nearly top weight. So he's not going to have he's not going to have it easy, but he's such a good jumper, accurate jumper. And I think he's better this season than he was last season. So I wouldn't be so worried about the trip. I think he'll be given a totally different ride. That's what happened in the trial, didn't it? He was held up right sort of out the back and allowed to make his way through the field. I think he'll be ridden totally differently. So, I think he's got a great chance in the National, whichever way you look at it. And
Tom, sticking with you, we've also got the Kingwell Hurdle at Wincanton this weekend. We've got the Red Mills, and we've got Black Corton going in the Reynoldstown Chase. Is there anything catching your eye in those races, or anything else this week you're looking forward to?
Quite interested in Flying Tiger, Nick Williams' horse, because I think he's a player in the County Hurdle. I think he's been running on ground that he really doesn't like. He really doesn't like it too heavy. So I'm pretty sure he won't win on Saturday, but he's going to run a good race again. And I think he's setting himself up for a really good shot at the Triumph Hurdle. Not the Triumph Hurdle, the County Hurdle in March. I just think he's a really good horse when he gets good ground. I think the problem with him is the ground's been far too soft for him. And while it was not that soft at Doncaster last time, I thought, he had a big weight against Irish Row and Amour de Nuit. I think he's a good horse, and I think come Cheltenham in March, he might be a player in the County Hurdle. So those are the two I'd be looking at this week.
And Tom Nugent, we got a good meeting at Gowran Park on Saturday, Red Mills Day. Could something emerge from that day and throw their hat in the ring for Cheltenham? Is there anything you know of that's going that could be of interest?
Yeah, there's a cracking card on in Gowran this weekend. The rumours are, the Gowran Park Racecourse Twitter account has reported that possibly in the Red Mills Chase this weekend, it could be R Duke versus Presenting Percy. So R Duke, obviously on a recovery mission, his season is looking to be could be an absolute shocker if he doesn't pull something out of the bag. And Presenting Percy is shaping up to be a serious player in the RSA, of course. Won the Galmoy Hurdle in Gowran back in January, back over fences this time if he shows up, and he's a 3-1 poke for the RSA, and he's very, very well fancied by a lot of people in Ireland. So it could be a very interesting weekend in Gowran.
If the two of those lined up, which way would you go?
Just based on recent form, you'd have to fancy Presenting Percy. R Duke has to show something before you could back him.
And James, finally to you. It's a big weekend all over the country in Britain and Ireland. What particularly are you looking forward to?
Lots of horses I'm excited to see this weekend. That one particular name that caught my eye was Chef des Obeaux at Haydock in that 3-mile novice hurdle. Very impressed with him at Kempton last time, staying on really strongly, and he looks the sort of horse that could be a typical Albert Bartlett type. I think he and his stablemate, Henderson stablemate, who beat him earlier in the season, Santini, are both really nice types. So I'll be interested to see how he goes.
Okay. Yeah. Right, it's competition time. Every week we give listeners and viewers the chance to win a £25 or Euro free bet, courtesy of our sponsors, Paddy Power. All you have to do is answer the upcoming very simple question and tweet your answer using the hashtag Postcast. The question is, with the Grand National weights revealed on Tuesday, who won last year's big race? Don't forget to tweet your answer using hashtag Postcast, and we will reveal the winner in Friday's weekend tipping show. We're just going to take a break, and then we'll be looking back at last week's action.
Success ain't earned, it's bought. That's why at Paddy Power, we paid the big bucks for the best tech nerds in the world to develop our new, fastest ever app. Download the new app from the App Store or Play Store now. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Right, we had an interesting card at Newbury last weekend with a few returning heroes. Tom Siegel, I'm going to come to you first. Altior, he made Politolog look ordinary. I thought it was a stunning comeback. Do you give any crumbs of comfort to Politolog or maybe Min fans, or do you think Altior will just turn up and wipe the floor with him?
I think Altior's a lot better than Min and Politolog. Yeah, I think he'll wipe the floor with them. I think Duvan's the horse that with the X factor that could give him a race. I don't see how Politolog has any chance of winning the Champion Chase bar accidents. Min is Min. I wasn't as impressed as everyone else with him at Leopardstown the other week. I think Ordinary World would have finished maybe 1-2 lengths behind him if he hadn't made that mistake at the last. Is that Champion Chase winning form? No, not for me. So I think it's Altior's to lose with Duvan. If he was to come back, he's the fly in the ointment. I don't see anything else being anywhere near good enough.
Do you think after seeing that, though, that Woody Mullins and Rich Ritchie might fight shy of trying to take on Altior on Duvan's comeback?
They might do. They might well do. But what else are you going to do? Look, the chances of Duvan turning up are probably pretty slim. It's probably 30-70. I think that's what they've been saying all along anyway. So, yes, they might not. They're not going to throw him in there if they don't think he's 100% by any means. So, I couldn't suggest backing him, but I just don't see how any of the other horses that I've seen this season have any chance of beating Altior. I think with Special Tiara in there to make it a strong pace, I just think he's miles better than them. He was over hurdles. He is over fences. He looked better than ever on Saturday. If, as they suggest, he's going to come on, I can't see anything beating him.
The only negative is, and it's a very slight negative, and this is just me talking to people in the office today. They said maybe his worst performance last season came in the Arkle, but even then, that's pretty much clutching at straws, isn't it?
I think so. His best performance over hurdles came in the Supreme. I don't think it's a track thing. Cheltenham's a funny track, isn't it? Let's not beat about the bush. I think I'll come on to this in a minute with Native River. It's a tricky track. If you were to design a racetrack, Cheltenham would be nearly bottom. It's up and down hills. It's round and bends. It's tight. It's this. It's that. It's not Newbury. It's not any of those tracks that test stamina and jumping on flare flat tracks. So it's a difficult track. Yes, he probably wasn't as impressive as he could be. But if you watch the last furlong and a half, if you go onto your Racing Post website and watch the finish of the race rather than the whole of the race, you can't say anything but he's incredibly impressive. During the race, yes, there was a couple of times where I thought he might be beaten, but from jumping the last to the line, he was super impressive. The thing is, he's a super strong stayer, and I think he'll run up the hill faster. I cannot see how he'll get beat by jumping errors.
And James, coming into Saturday's race, you must have been quite excited with Politolog, Tingle Creek winner, coming here on a roll. He had race fitness on his side. Altior had the wind up, first time back. You would have been expecting probably maybe a close race, but it was anything but.
Yeah, I was still expecting a close race, even at about the second last, actually. I thought Politolog still might test him. But what's amazing about Altior, compared to other two-milers around, he just finds a different gear. I mean, these are the equine equivalent of 400-metre hurdle athletes. I mean, they go off hard and they don't have actually that much left at the finish, quite a few of them. But Altior just has loads left. I mean, he was just so impressive from the last to the line, I thought, on Saturday. Even if he was like 2 lengths down in the Champion Chase, I think I'd still fancy him to win, just because, as Tom says, he stays the trip so strongly. I mean, the only way I think the opposition could possibly beat him is if Special Tiara and Min went flying off in front. If he does have an Achilles heel, his jumping isn't lightning quick. I mean, I think it's perfectly good. It's just not as quick as one or two others. But I think probably a clutching at straws there. I mean, even though Cheltenham's a difficult track, I think provided he puts in a decent round of jumping, that they're not going to get anywhere near him.
And Tom Nugent, this is looking like a done deal. Does your betting at Paddy Power reflect that for the Champion Chase?
At the moment, it does. He was 4-5 from 5-4 directly after the result, and he's been clipped again. He's now a 4-6 favourite with us. 11-4 next in is Min, 7-2 Duvan, and 13-2 Bar.
Okay, you seen much interest in him, or have you seen much interest in him during the winter before he returned? People taking a chance on him in the wind up, or not?
Yeah, I suppose I couldn't give you a direct answer to that question, but there will be punters who will remember how good Nicky Henderson is at bringing back a horse from some sort of setback like this, and he's definitely a major player in all those anti-post ACCAs.
Okay, moving on to the Denman Chase. I mean, Tom Siegel, I watched this race. I thought beforehand Cloudy Dream proved before that he didn't stay 3 miles, so I thought Native River might be a good thing, and he won like one. Do you think he achieved much in coming back and winning like that, or do you look upon it slightly more negatively like I did, that he beat a blatant non-stayer in Cloudy Dream and couldn't do much else than win?
Well, I agree with you that the race totally fell apart when Safir de Rodin did what Safir de Roux can do and put in a stinker. After that, it didn't take much winning. What I would say is that he did everything you'd expect of a Gold Cup horse. You know, you look through all the trials going on we've had this season, nothing has really suggested that they're, you know, out of the ordinary in the staying division bar Might Bite. And even that, you could crab that form, really, couldn't you? The King George form on, you know, beating Double Shuffle or whatever he did. I thought he did everything right. The one thing I've got about him is I just think, you know, he's brilliant when he's such a strong stayer that the tracks like Newbury and Chepstow with their long straights and their 5 fences and 4 fences where he can get horses at it are perfect for him. Cheltenham definitely doesn't suit him so well. I think he will need soft ground to win a Gold Cup. He'll still run well in a Gold Cup on good ground, but it's on good ground, they dive bomb him. They all fly at him coming around that bend, and he can't pick up. He's not a horse that picks up. He could win it Master Oak style or Bobsworth style or one of those grinding styles. He can definitely win it like that. If the ground is good, I think there'll be a horse that's a little bit too quick for him coming around the bend, provided the Might Bites and the Sizing Johns come back to their best. If it just turns into an average Gold Cup, then why can't he win it? Of course he can. And I thought Saturday's race, he did everything that you could expect of him. In fact, in many ways, I thought he looked better than some of the times he did last year. So I'm a big fan of his as a horse. If it was at Cheltenham, if it was at Newbury, I think he'd win it. If it was at Chepstow, I think he'd win it. At Cheltenham, I think that provides a little bit of seed of doubt for me as whether he's quite as good there as he is at the other tracks. His form suggests he's not. He's twice been beaten by Melena Rocco, for example, around Cheltenham in the Gold Cup and the 4 miler. So if you fancy Native River, you've got to throw Melena Rocco in, and the people are telling me that Melena Rocco's got no chance. So I don't know. He's definitely a player. Do I think he'll win it on good ground? No, I don't.
Would that also encourage you for Definitely Red? Because he did pretty much what Native River did to him last time, to Cloudy Dream last time out. Would he be on your mind as well, or do you still not see him as
why
as good
not?
enough?
Why not? He's the other one that I was going to say that in the trials he's put his step. I mean, I thought that was a better race, wasn't it? The race at Cheltenham was probably a better race than the one on Saturday. Whether I don't know. I think it'll be a funny race. I think it'll be a funny result. I think any one of 20 could win it at this stage. All those ones that ran in the Irish race, all those ones that ran in Ireland over Christmas, you know, the Coney Islands of this world, all of them can come into it and throw a spanner in the works. At the moment, I haven't seen anything that I'm sitting here thinking, oh, that's going to win the goal. That's got all the attributes needed. I don't see it. I don't even see it with Might Bite, because I think he'll end up in the Guinness tent like he always does. And so therefore, I'm expecting a turn up in the Gold Cup. We have them time and time again. A lot will depend on conditions. If it's soft ground, I do think Native River's got a massive chance, though.
And James, looking back to Newbury again, Denman Chase, Native River won nicely. He didn't just win, but it was a good weekend all round for Colin Tizard. Just indicates he might have turned a bit of a corner. The horse is running a little bit better, be more confident. He would have been pleased with that leading into Cheltenham. Had a nice light season. Do you see him taking a hand?
Native River, not really. I mean, I thought that was a very good reappearance on Saturday. It was a very similar the performance to when he won the race 12 months ago. 12 months ago, he was coming to the Gold Cup on the back of a fabulous season. He'd won the Hennessy, won the Welsh National. He was a young, improving horse. I thought he had a lot going for him. And I thought he ran really well in the Gold Cup, but he just wasn't good enough. and if he wasn't good enough last year, I don't see how he can be good enough this time around. He'd probably have to turn the form around with the 2 horses that beat him in the Gold Cup. You know, you've got Might Bite, you've got the Irish Challenge. He's a very, very good horse, Native River, but I don't think he's good enough to win a Gold Cup.
And Tom Nugent, did Native River's win cause much of a stir in the markets with Paddy Power for the Gold Cup, or was there not much attention given to that afterwards?
Not a huge amount, to be honest with you, Nick. He's a 6-1 poke at the moment. We're still Might Bite 7-2 favourite. Native River is alongside Sizing John now, both at 6-1. Coney Island is 8-1. Kulultovic 9s, Road to Respect 10s, and it's 14-1 bar. That's an all non-runner, no bet, of course.
Now, switching our attention to the Arkle, a lot of people think footpad is a certainty for that. Might not be the case, and we saw a horse at the weekend at Warwick who threw his hat in the ring for the Arkle Chase, St Calvados, trained by Harry Whittington. Done nothing wrong this season, James, and carried on in a winning vein at the weekend. Is he a legitimate Arkle contender? Yeah,
I mean, the Arkle's boiling up into a really fascinating race, and definitely he's one of the contenders now after that performance. I thought his jumping was super slick. He was very impressive. And it would be interesting to see how he would go at Cheltenham. I know that they're saying that he could improve for better ground, but I think he'd have a better chance on a softer surface in the Arkle, I have to say. I mean, all his forms on soft or very soft ground. Just looking at his action, I think he does bend his knee a bit. So I think on soft ground, with his jumping, he'd definitely be a contender. But it would be a different ball game on a better surface. I mean, Footpad, Petit Mouchoir, Sco-Royal, they're all top class. So yeah, it would be harder for him in that case. But certainly a contender on a softer surface.
And Tom Siegel, according to the betting, footpad is a good thing for this Arkle, but I think it's a bit more open than that. And St Calvados one of many who could put up a challenge to him at Cheltenham.
I couldn't agree more, Nick. I think if you swap the trainers, you swap the prices, basically. I mean, I don't think Footpad has done anything more or less than St Calvados has done. I think Racing Post ratings will tell you that. I think he's both got them rated exactly the same. I think beating 5-6 run of fields is what Footpad's done. Now he jumps brilliantly, but that's exactly what St Calvados has done. He's beaten good horses easily on soft ground. Now we know Footpad won't mind the better ground, and we also know that Footpad doesn't have to make the running. I think they'll be making the running because he jumps so well to give him that advantage of in those small fields because he's such a good jumper. I think Ruby will probably get back on him in the Arkle and sit in behind St Calvados, but I'm a massive fan of that Harry Whittington horse. I get the issues about potential ground. Got to remember though, the Arkle's the first race over fences at the festival. It's not going to be fast ground. It's definitely not going to be fast ground. It'll be good to soft at best, at fastest. The chances are, if there's any rain at all, it'll be soft. If it's soft, I think I'll give him a huge chance of winning the Arkle. I thought he was brilliant at Warwick. Compare the time to that good handicap chase afterwards. It was outstanding. Seriously good horse, St Calvados. If you're asking me to have a bet at 6-1 or 11-10, I think you have to be mad to back a Footpad at 11-10 with him there at 6-1. That's my opinion. But I personally think Sco-Royal's in there as well, and Petit Mouchoir, because I think it's a really good race. I mean, we've the Racing Post have sponsored some Duffold races over the years, but they haven't. This is a really we've got lucky with this one because I think this is the race of the festival. I cannot wait for the Arkle. I think 4 horses there have shown themselves to be absolutely top class, and next year when Altior's banging around in another champion chase, it will be a totally different kettle of fish because these horses are really good.
Tom Nugent, give us a rundown, if you will, of the Arkle prices as they stand. And if you were to have a bet in the race at the moment, which one would you be looking at? Are you a Footpad fan, or would you be going elsewhere?
So we're Footpad 11-10 at the moment. Favourite Petit Mouchoir is next in at 9-2. St Calvados is 6-1. Sco-Royal is 7s. Brain Power is 12-1 alongside Invitation Only, and it's 16-1. I would rate the Irish Arkle form much better than that race on Saturday. Now St Calvados, it was impressive, but is entitled to beat that Nichols horse by 22 lengths in the end. The one for me at the moment is Petit Mouchoir. I agree with Tom Segal there. I think Footpad is a vulnerable favourite. Petit Mouchoir didn't have us jumping together in the Irish Arkle a couple of weekends ago. Davy Russell didn't knock him around running up the straight. He knew he was beaten, put his stick down, just kept him up to his work. I think if there's no better trainer in Ireland anyway that could get a horse's jumping better than Henry de Bramhead. And I think Petit Mouchouar will go very close to reversing the form with Footpad in the Arkle and Cheltenham.
Also, we had a big handicap hurdle at Newbury, won by Kalashnikov in fantastic style for young trainer Amy Murphy. He obviously won very impressively, James, so I thought there was a few interesting performances in behind. If I was to pick out one from the field, I thought Charlie Parks ran a good race on ground he hated, and I'm expecting much better from him in the spring, maybe pop up in the big handicap somewhere. What would be the horse that you took out of the Betfair hurdle?
Probably still the winner. I thought you're right, Charlie Parks has won. Quite a few horses in behind who ran very interesting races, who are definitely going to be contenders in races like the Coral Cup and the County Hurdle. But I think Kalashnikov's got a real good chance in the Supreme Novices, particularly if the ground turned up on the soft side. I know they've been banging on for ages about how he's a much better horse on better ground, but I just think he's such a grinder, such a strong stayer, that if it came up on the soft side in the Supreme Novices, I mean, he really would have a tremendous chance, because he'd just be staying on more strongly than anything. They usually go a pace in that race, so it'll suit him. He's got the big field experience now. And I think he's a good each way price. He's the highest novice, I think, highest rated novice to win that race since My Tent or Yours. So, he's got to be quite decent.
And Tom Siegel, Kalashnikov, the Supreme Novices winner?
I hope so, considering he was one of my selections earlier in the season, Nick. I really hope so. Do I think he'll win it? I think he's got an excellent chance. Yeah, I think if you look, once again, you go through the Racing Post ratings and have a look at what Steve Mason says there. He's got him rated higher than Get a Bird already. Top Speed's got him top in the race. There's a mare of Willie Mullins' Laurelina, which won't run, that's rated higher, and Sam Crow's rated a pound higher, but he's right in there. And I disagree slightly with James. I think we'll see a totally different horse on better ground. I think he'll travel so much better into the race. And I think, whatever way you look at the form, Bleu Air Rouge is a very good horse. He's a Grade 1 winner. He was beaten 8 lengths by Beauverdere in a Grade 1 at Aintree afterwards. I think he's verging on top class himself, I think. He wouldn't be out of place in a goal. If he was JP McManus's only horse for a champion hurdle, I think he'd be running, and I wouldn't put it past him running really well in a champion hurdle. That's how high I rate the form. And those two were 4.5 lengths and 8 lengths, and then 9 lengths between a lot of them. It wasn't even close at the end. I really think he's a really good horse, Kalashnikov. Will he win? If Get a Bird's as good as they say he is, then he might not. But I cannot see him being out of the frame on what he's shown so far. We've had horses like Darlan, My Tent or Yours, Bally Andy win this race, and then go on to run really well in the Supreme. There's no reason why he shouldn't do that at all. I think he's got a really good chance. The rest from the field, as I say, I like Bleu Air Rouge. I thought Verdana Blue's an interesting for a race, a race back on good ground. And if they could only get Core Blimey to jump, he must lose 5 lengths a hurdle, and he still stayed on to be 4th. If they could get him to jump one day, I don't know how they're going to do it, because he looks like he's clueless. But if they ever got him to jump, he's seriously well-handicapped horse. So I'd take Verdana Blue and Core Blimey out of there, but I think the winner's absolutely exceptional. I really think he's got a good chance in the Supreme.
And Tom, just remind us of your...
Nick? What do you think?
Well, I do. I was just going to ask you again to remind us of your theory. You're not certain, are you, that Get a Bird will even go for the Supreme? You think he might be upped in trip for the Ballymore? Is that right?
Well, I thought he would until Sam Crow came along. If they run, he will go wherever Sam Crow doesn't, I think. If Sam Crow goes for the Ballymore, I think Get a Bird will run in the Supreme, simply because all the Mullins 2-milers sort of got blown out the water, didn't they, at Leopardstown over Christmas, at the Dublin Racing Festival. I thought they all got absolutely whacked by Sam Crow. So I think he'll go wherever Sam Crow doesn't. Before the race, I thought there was a chance if Sharjah turned up and won and ran a good race at Leopardstown at the festival, I thought he'd go for the 2-miler, and Get a Bird, being a point-to-pointer and a stronger stayer, would go up in trip. Now I don't see that being the case. I think he'll go where Sam Crow doesn't. So therefore, I think he'll probably end up in the Supreme.
Tom Nugent, connections of Sam Crow still seem adamant he's going to stick to the Ballymore. I don't know what you think about that, whether you think he might be a Supreme player or a Supreme runner. But either way, do you see Kalashnikov as a potential winner of that race after Saturday?
Yeah, no, the vibes in Ireland have kind of always pretty much been that Sam Crow has been destined for the Ballymore. At least that's all I've heard anyway. But Kalashnikov looked great at the weekend. He just looks a very, very good horse. I agree with what Tom said there. He just looks very sharp. He was 8 from 16s for the Supreme directly after the result. and he's a 13-2 poke just at the moment. Other ones to take out of it. I backed Bleu Rouge, and I spent most of the race watching him. I was kind of nearly counting my money there coming up the straight, but sadly wasn't to be. Got stuck in the mud. But again, what Tom said, he looks top class too. But yeah, no, an unbelievable result for Amy Murphy, and Kalashnikov is probably now the United Kingdom's leading chance in the Supreme.
And Tom, sticking with you, any horses at the weekend that were worthy of inclusion in your tracker? I thought Burning Ambition put up a very good performance yesterday against Gil Gamboa. He's on my shortlist for the Fox Hunters. Anything else from you?
Yeah, can I give you one that had its form franked over the weekend? The maiden hurdle in Naas on Saturday was won by a horse called Cartwright, who absolutely hosed up by 20 lengths. He was beaten by 17 lengths by a horse called Scarpetta in Goran in January. I think Scarpetta could be really, really good. He's trained by Willie Mullins. He's owned by Thurlow Thoroughbreds. And if he gets a handicap entry at the Cheltenham Festival, I'd sit up and take note. Put him in your tracker, Scarpetta.
James, what about you? A tracker horse for viewers to follow?
Vision to Flow was very impressive at Exeter. So you'd have to think about him for Cheltenham. But the horse who really caught my eye was the Newbury bumper winner on Saturday, AC Milan. I was particularly impressed with him because he won very nicely, having come up the stand side in the home stretch at Newbury. Newbury is a big, wide, expansive straight, probably bigger than any other straight. And just watching the racing all afternoon, on the hurdles track, there didn't seem to be anything that was finishing that strongly. A lot of them were stopping in the mud on the stand side. All the winners were coming centre to far side, apart from AC Milan. And actually, by the end of the race, he was had put the race to bed comfortably. He was finishing really strongly, and he looks a real nice type. I think if he turns up for the bumper at Cheltenham, he's got to have a chance because that yard's been close to winning it before. If
anything epitomises the highs and lows of racing, it's what happened to Anthony Honeyball over the weekend, losing Fanton's Windfall on Friday. I'm sure nobody begrudged him that success on Saturday. And like you said, he looks a really good prospect.
No, Anthony Honeyball outfit's a really good outfit. I mean, he gets the horses really fit and well. And I think that's a very talented sort. That.
And Tom Siegel, finishing with you, and anything else for the tracker that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, I've got two horses written down here, and the boys have spoilt them both. I'm a big fan of AC Milan. I thought he was really good. Whether he's a champion bumper horse when all those other ones come in, I'm not sure. I'm a big fan of Nick Gifford's horse, which I can't remember the name of. You guys will remember the one at Ascot.
Did they leave you out?
Yeah,
too?
I think he's a really good big player in the champion bumper. But Cartwright was the horse that stood out for me. Tom Nugent mentioned him there. I think the ground was probably against him in his first run for Gordon Elliott behind Scarpetta, but he's one of those. He's high chaparral out of One So Marvellous. He's bred to be a Derby winner, let alone a hurdler, and I thought he was superb. I mean, very few horses sprint away from a big field that quickly.
Especially at Naas. Naas is a stiff track.
And I thought he was exceptionally good. And I would put him down as a horse to follow wherever he runs next. Now, I don't think he's got any entries at Cheltenham at the moment. I think Gordon Elliott was talking about going on the flat with him, but I think he's one to watch out for Punchestown Fairy House in a Grade 1 hurdle somewhere. I thought he was really good on good ground. He's from Sir Mark Prescott's. He's one of those Sir Mark Prescott horses that probably hasn't been knackered out as some of those flat horses are. He hasn't had too much running. He's sort of progressed in typical Prescott style, and I think there's plenty more to come from him. So he would be top of my tracker list. And I don't think we've mentioned her, but Benny Des Dieux is a very, very good mare. I just don't know what she's going to run in. She's, she's got entries everywhere. She could be a Ryanair horse because she missed out with her novice chase. She's a novice, not a novice from last season. So there's a chance she could be a Ryanair horse. I don't know what the Mullins and the Rich Ritchie plans are with her. But she's very, very talented. And I thought she won easily on Saturday. And she's just a mare to keep. She's just such a brilliant jumper. She just, she beat Asturia and Denaria des Obeaux, giving them weight in hand, basically. She's definitely a really talented mare. I don't know what the plan is. My guess is they'll probably miss Cheltenham and go for the mares' races around Punchestown and Fairy House, places like that. But those are my two. I'd go to Ireland at Naas and look at Cartwright and Benny Des Dieux.
OK, we're going to go for an advert and then we're going to come back and talk about the Grand National.
Follow Paddy Power on Snapchat. The username is ThePaddyPower, and we promise there won't be any boring snaps about gigs, the weather or the gym.
Now the Grand National countdown really starts in earnest tomorrow with the unveiling of the weights. The ceremony takes place in London. I'm sure there'll be some people pleased, some people disappointed. We don't have to work too hard to guess who they might be. Tom Siegel, starting with you. You know, reading you a couple of weeks ago, you said you were keen to be with Total Recall wherever he ran. Is he top of your list for this race?
He's definitely very, very high on the list. He'll have to settle better than he did last time if he's going to get the national trip. I love horses like him that are just travel and jump like he does. I think he's a player. He's definitely a player. I mean, we'll see what weight he gets. I have a feeling that he might get a few more pounds than everyone's expecting, given how impressive he was in the Hennessy. I'm also a big fan of Gold Present, Nick. That's the one I've backed. I've had a bet. The only horse I've backed prior to the weights coming out was Gold Present, because I thought that Ascot form over 3 miles when he beat Frodon is just about the best 3-mile handicap chase form we've seen. And after watching it, I went back because Nico de Boinville came on the telly and said, "Oh, he's a national type. You know, brilliant jumper." And I went back to watch him round Aintree last year when I think he might have come down at the Canal Turn or something. He was brilliant round there for 90% of the rate until he made that mistake. I think he's a superb jumper. The worry about him is the trip, clearly. But he had a wind operation at the back end last year, and I think he's just a much better horse, and he's breathing better. And so those would be my two at the moment. Obviously, I haven't seen the weights, and I'm planning to. I mean, we've got a price-wise sort of feature coming out on Thursday's paper. So whether those two are the two that go in the paper, I'm not sure. But at the moment, I've backed Gold Present, and I'm seriously tempted to back Total Recall. I just want to see where Total Recall goes first. If they run him in the Gold Cup, then I'd be slightly less confident about his chances of winning the National. If they ran him in the Coral Cup, or if they ran him in the Bobby Joe, or whatever they did, and aimed him at the National, then yes, I would be keen on him too.
Tom Nugent, can you give us a price, your current price on Gold Present, and then you can take it away with your own long-range fancy?
Yeah, Gold Present is a 20-1 poke at the moment. The one that I hadn't really looked at the National since before the new year, but the one that just sticks out, and I hope to God he runs, because I'm not sure if he definitely will, is Tiger Roll for Gordon Elliott and Gigginsound. Of course, Gigginsound have made their opinions clear on if they think they're unfairly handicapped in any national, with any runner, they simply won't show up. But if Tiger Roll was to get a fair weight in the eyes of the O'Leary brothers, I think he'd have a very good chance. He's a 50-1 poke at the moment. He's looking like he'll go for the cross country at Cheltenham. Of course, stamina's no issue. Won the 4-miler at Cheltenham last year. I think he'd just be interesting. He's got an official chase mark of 151 at the moment. Tiger Roll for me at 50-1 each way.
That would be an extraordinary double, wouldn't it, to win the Triumph?
Do you think he jumped well enough, Tom? Did he jump well enough, Tom?
I don't know. He showed enough aptitude at the cross-country trial in December at Cheltenham that he can definitely be versatile. Look, it's something they need to work on with him, but I'd be very interested to see if they go with him.
It'd be a hell of a double.
He took half a Cheltenham home with him and still won the other day. I think he's a really, really good horse, but blimey, I wouldn't want to be riding him, that's for sure. He
does seem to be a horse as well that thrives around Cheltenham. So, you know, that's the thing about the Grand National course. You're not sure if he'll take to it.
Go on, James. Give us your views. Grand National this stage, just an early stage. We're just going to get the unveiling of the weights tomorrow. A lot can happen, a lot of water under the bridge to come. But if you had to pick out one at this very early juncture, what would it be?
Well, the one that also I've been looking forward to seeing all season for running in the Grand National is Go Conquer. Now, the issue of him is stamina, whether he'd actually get home. But in terms of jumping, I think he's one of the best jumpers around. Absolutely fantastic. I say that, I mean, he unseated last time. He has tipped up on a few occasions, which is very surprising because on his day, he's fantastic. And yeah, I think, you know, he's got a big price around the 50-1 mark. For a horse that jumps as well as him. And Americans around that price as well. I was really impressed with his jumping at Cheltenham last time. He raced far too keenly. But both those two, be very excited about seeing them at Aintree. So it'll be interesting to see what weights they get.
Okay, finally on Tuesday, Sam Twiston-Davies will be joining us in our latest Cheltenham Postcast. And he'll be looking at the Supreme and Ballymore. We've mentioned them briefly in the Postcast already. Tom Siegel, if we just reiterate again for us, Supreme and Ballymore, one horse for each race.
Kalashnikov and On the Blind Side.
Tom Nugent, one for each of those?
He didn't take the easy way out and say Get a Bird and Sam Crow anyway. I obviously think the favourites in both races are, well, Get a Bird in the Supreme and Sam Crow in the Ballymore are both very interesting. But the one I like is Duke de Ginevra each way wherever he goes. I think he ran another really nice race at the Dublin Racing Festival there a couple of weekends ago. I'm not sure where he'll go yet, but I think he's definitely an each way player in either race.
James Hill will leave the final 2 words to yourself. Supreme and Ballymore, who wins them?
Supreme Kalashnikov, and I'll look for one of the home contenders against Sam Crow in the Ballymore. I'll go for Black Hop, who should have won at Cheltenham last time. Nice horse.
Okay, well, thanks very much to James. Thank you to the 2 Toms on the line. If you like these postcasts, please make sure you rate, review and subscribe on iTunes.
Success ain't earned, it's bought. That's why at Paddy Power, we paid the big bucks for the best tech nerds in the world to develop our new fastest ever app. Download the new app from the App Store or Play Store now. 18+, begambleaware.org.